we are going to dive into a little family drama that makes Succession look like a Hallmark holiday special. Except this one comes with Nazis and castles and Gestapo visits and enough aristocratic dysfunction to make you wonder if evolution really has a reverse gear. Now, in a metaphor for the experience we're all watching unfold today, all around us, doesn't matter where you live now, let's look at a true story and let's understand how things can go and what you can do, if you can. There are still choices. Europe, that exquisite centuries-old stage where powdered aristocrats once pranced, convinced history would always bow before their waistcoats and inherited cheekbones. And then one spring morning in 1943, Muriel White, the Countess Zeher-Toss, born into American splendor and married into Prussian delusion, looked out her castle window and saw the Gestapo coming up the drive. Not for tea, not for gossip, for her. Now, Muriel had options. She could raise her hand. She could fly the swastika. She could keep quiet. She could sip champagne. And that's what most of her aristocratic neighbors did, by the way. The courageous defenders of civilization who discovered rather late that goose-stepping into moral compromise is still marching into hell. But Muriel, no. She mocked the party to its face. She refused to salute to the Nazi flag, to the Fuhrer. She refused to fly the flag. And worst of all, she had the audacity to help Jews escape Austria when everyone else was busy rehearsing excuses for Nuremberg. So naturally, the Reich wanted her erased. Just like the, rainbow sidewalk in front of the Pulse Memorial in Orlando was erased 2 days ago. Just like entire walls of the Pentagon with, they call it DEI, we would just call them American citizens, have been rolled over with paint, erased. So I want you to imagine this, an American-born countess, daughter of U.S. diplomats who dined with kings, who renovated her husband's castles, who funded her husband's heirs, endured his obsession with Aryan-proof papers. She's now staring down Hitler's secret police from the upper floors of her castle. Decades of wealth, diplomacy, privilege, all reduced to a single dreadful calculation. What is the price of dignity when tyranny knocks? Well, she didn't wait for them to find out. She jumped right out of her castle. And this wasn't just one woman's private war. It was a slow-motion demolition of an entire class that believed its gilded drawing rooms were above the smoke of history. I think you're getting the metaphor here. And yet, between the champagne flutes and the swastikas, between appeasement and occasional resistance, we find the messy human drama of betrayal, of courage, of cowardice, and the perennial absurdity of elites believing they can outwit the monsters that they are quietly nurturing. Yep, you know what I mean. Meanwhile, the Reich was busy annexing Austria, carving up Czechoslovakia, passing out racial purity tests like Halloween candy. Boise summed up the absurdity best. If Germany won, your estates were confiscated. If Russia won, your estates were confiscated. And you probably froze to death in Stalingrad. It's a real win-win for everyone. So today, we're not just talking about history. We're talking about power. We're talking about survival. We're talking about the spectacular human ability to set fire to the world while congratulating ourselves on making it great again. And to join us is author Jason Hutto, whose book, The Countess and the Nazis, digs through the madness with the precision of a scalpel and the stamina of someone who spent way too much time reading aristocratic correspondence. Jason, is it Hutto or Hutto?
Hutto.
Good for me. I got it the first time.
Absolutely.
Jason Hutto, I want to welcome you to the files.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So we're painting a giant metaphor for what a lot of people are seeing. Your book comes out at exactly the right moment, maybe planned, maybe not planned, maybe serendipitous, maybe a collision. Nonetheless, this is a teaching moment for all of us who are sitting there going, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? She was a real hero, this countess. She helped Jewish families escape while attending Nazi-studded dinner parties. So doing, both at the same time, but doing the good work. What does that paradox tell us about her?
Well, she was from an incredibly privileged background. Her father was an ambassador. He was one of only 5 U.S. signatories to the Versailles Peace Treaty, lots of money. And so she easily could have sort of been a social hostess. She could have, stayed in her castle. She had 2 of them that she paid to have renovated. She could have stayed there and given cocktail parties, been a salonière, but she couldn't do that. Her real push was to help those around her. It started, I think, with just her family. She wanted to protect her family, as naturally she would, but then she kept expanding. I mean, she would help a couple of British pilots escape from a prison. She got some other prisoners better treatment than they would have gotten if she had not interceded. So, as you said when we were coming in, she easily could have done what everybody else did, sort of look the other way and just gone, oh, well, that's the way things are. She didn't do it, though, and she didn't do it just quietly. She did it actually once to Hitler's face, and again, at a different time, to an officer of the Nazi Party. So they knew exactly what she was doing. And to some degree, she thought she was protected. Both her father and her brother were ambassadors. And I think that worked for a while. And so, again, she could have pulled back at that point. She could have said, well, let's save ourselves. I've made my point. But again, she didn't do that either. She sent her sons to protection in the United States, refused to turn them over. And it was when the Gestapo said to her, we're coming back next week. If you do not give us your sons, we're taking you to Auschwitz. She saw them turn in the driveway. She knew the kind of treatment they were going to be giving her if she actually went to Auschwitz. And she was more worried about giving out information by being tortured. So instead, as you said, she climbed the tower in her castle, the castle that she had paid to renovate, and jumped to her death below, dying instantly. She certainly thought that was a preferable way to go rather than being tortured at Auschwitz to tell them whatever they needed to hear.
Wow. This is what a lot of people are facing now, whether they're, many people we know in LA, friends, family are being collected by ICE, by anonymous guys that we just learned yesterday that there is now a $50,000 signing bonus if you want to anonymously sign up with the Sturmabteilung, the SA, ICE, whatever you want to call it, for a country that is absolutely bankrupt, where we've blown apart the Department of Education, where we've dismantled every possible social service. 50 grand times tens of thousands is a whole lot of money for a country completely bankrupt. Why? We can't even afford air. We're going to get rid of that too with our EPA. We're going to get rid of the EPA. But that's pardon my sarcasm, but this is what people are facing. It's not entirely dissimilar to the way the government had been cobbled together that she was facing in your book.
Indeed. In fact, she became known really for being able to find food when it wasn't available. And as I said earlier, she didn't just take care of her family. She took care of all of the families of those around her, the women and children who were left behind when the men had to go off to war. She had people from great distances who were calling on her for help, and she was giving it. And as I said, they certainly knew about it. There was one point at which during the Nazi Olympics in 1936, she and her husband were watching the Olympics in the private box of Hermann Goering, who had been in the military with her husband. And while they were there, Hitler came in to greet them. She looked at him, Muriel did, and she said, "Sir, I know what you're doing. I'm going to do everything in my power to stop you." He threw his head back and laughed and said, "Oh, madam, don't be so serious." And so she wasn't worried at all. Perhaps she was a bit brazen. She wasn't worried about letting them know her thoughts. And again, she may have thought she was slightly protected, but of course that would run out in time as well.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, call now and get free shipping of your new CGM, plus we'll bill your insurance for you.
877-282-8102. That's 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102.
Right.
Carrie Harrison with you. This is the Carrie Harrison Files. We're live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Carrie Harrison, spelled C-A-R-Y, Carrie Harrison Substack, or Carrie Harrison YouTube, and that way we can stay connected when you arrive at your destination. You can also get our newsletter at carrieharrison.com. We are going to be migrating over to the upcoming KPFK YouTube channel. When we do, I will be very thrilled to announce that, and you'll be able to watch us there. Right now, we're talking to Rick Hutto. He's a historian, author, and forensic excavator of forgotten scandals. This one, the book, The Countess and the Nazis, An American Family's Private War. And we're talking about what feels current to many of you, but what is a historical reality. If you have some power, some sway, some agency in life, do you just join the people that you might not politically agree with so that you feel you're just going to be left alone? Well, we find out through history, you're like one of the biggest targets. So, and this is the story of a woman who was brave up till the point the Gestapo came to get her. Rick Hutto, if Muriel, our heroine today, the Countess, were alive today facing another wave of creeping authoritarianism, would she resist, or would history turn her into a cautionary meme, do you think?
Oh, I think she absolutely would resist. And she would say to all of us, you may not be able to do all the things I did. You may not be able to get an entire Jewish family out of Austria and settle them in Australia, but you can do something where you are. If there's a letter to be written, if there's a call to be made, if there's something to be said at a dinner party, then I think she would say to us, that's what you should do. Don't think that you have to do the incredible things that she did and go to those extremes, but we all have a responsibility, and I think she would tell us to matter where we are.
Rick Hutto, I'm going to make an analogy here because they're sometimes helpful. I went to a boarding school in Switzerland. In fact, I was there this summer teaching a bunch of kids critical thinking and media literacy, which is an extension of this show. What I've learned here, teaching them about how to spot fake news, how to tell the truth, how to be brave. Not easy. Who's to say what bravery is, but we kind of know what it isn't, maybe.
Right.
All that to say, this school during the late 1930s had the children of Nazis in it, along with other kids who were not the children of Nazis. And the reason is that the people high up in the party knew that one misstep, like the Countess, one wrong word, one anything, and their children were toast. Right. So they sent them off to this private school in a neutral country, because even they knew, even the highest of the highest knew that there was no protection when authoritarianism, is it 5 words? I don't know. It feels like it these days. Right. It's 5 sentences, maybe. That when it unleashes itself, whatever rules, whatever guardrails, whatever promises it makes are not kept. And you've been to Europe recently. I'm going to Budapest in about a month, not to visit Orban. It's just a tour that I'm leading.
Sure.
But, I can't be silent about what's going on there. Sure, the cafes are nice, but they're nice for a reason. If you look at the beautiful food, you're going to forget what's going on behind the curtain. And right. I think we're seeing that in America. As long as everyone's got Netflix and good cat food, we're great. And in Germany at the time, while food was difficult to find, people were handed free radios. Right. There was only one thing on, the Führer, and maybe some marching music, but it was pretty entertaining.
Right. You'll appreciate that Muriel's niece is 104 years old, still very much with it. And she remembers going to school when she was a little girl. And there was one girl in her class who was the daughter of one of the Nazi officers. And all of the girls just basically turned against her. They just didn't speak to her. They made sure that she was not invited to their houses. And that was the way, even as little girls, that was the way that they could show their displeasure as to what was going on. I have to wonder if people would still do that today, particularly children. Are we teaching our children and grandchildren what is possible if they don't get involved, and where we can lead if something isn't done?
Well, I very much appreciate your coming on today, Rick Hutto. You're a historian, you're an author, and your new book, The Countess and the Nazis, An American Family's Private War, is not a dusty footnote from the archives. It's the now of it all, the true story of Muriel White, an American-born countess, thumbing her nose at the Third Reich while living inside the same beast's gilded belly. She was in a Prussian castle under Hitler's gaze. The book is all about espionage, betrayal, resistance, and one woman who refused to salute the Nazi flag that history demanded she salute. Rick Hutto, I do want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kerry. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Carrie Harrison with you. It's your turn. We've just heard Rick Hutto unravel the story of Muriel White, the American countess who dared to defy Hitler and paid with her life. Now I want to hear from you. What would you do if the knock came at your door? Would you stand up and fight, or quietly hang the right flag in the window and hope nobody notices? We're talking power, privilege, and the price of silence. Then and now. The phones are about to light up, and so should you. Call in 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Those are your Harrison hotlines. I want you to tell me where you draw the line, or if you even have one.
Listen, well, it's still legal.
The Carrie Harrison Files. CarrieHarrison.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
We were talking to Jason Hutto. He just took us spelunking through the velvet-lined panic rooms of European aristocracy, where Muriel White, the countess, who dared to defy Hitler, went toe-to-toe with the Gestapo and paid the ultimate price. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to decide what's more unsettling. That a 1940s American countess had more guts than half of Washington today. I mean, what do we have? Chuckles Schumer writing a strongly worded letter. Oh, thank God. Mike, with everything going on, thank God Chuck Schumer pulls his glasses down to the end of his nose with his old lady librarian little chain on the side, and writes a strongly worded letter. Okay, we're good. Move along. Or, what's more unsettling, that her neighbors, fellow elites of impeccable breeding and questionable spines, happily raised their glasses to the Reich while ordering new drapes for the castle. In other words, leave me alone. I got plenty of money. I'm good. I got a 401k. I'm just going to look away to the other side. It will pass. This too shall pass. And yet here we are, nearly a century later, still watching the same tragic comedy play out. Different flags, different slogans, same authoritarian playbook. The uniforms change, but the appetites don't. So let's talk about you. What do you do when power comes knocking? Do you salute? Do you hide? Do you fight? Would you risk your castle, your comfort, your status to stand up to tyranny? Or, be honest here, would you just put a polite little swastika in the window and hope nobody notices you've got a conscience? Because here's the thing. Muriel, the countess, she knew that silence doesn't save you. It just buys you better curtains on the way to the gallows. So give me a call. We've got Got a few folks online. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. I want to hear, would you risk your livelihood for your principles? Or is morality a luxury item these days? Are we sleepwalking into a modern German castle moment, watching power consolidate while everyone's still comparing wine vintages? And what do you make of Muriel's leap? Heroism, tragedy, or a warning shot we've politely ignored for 80 years? The lines are open, and so's the vault where we keep our collective denial. If history really does rhyme, I want to know which verse you think we're living in. And don't get cute and tell me, oh, it can't happen here. That's exactly what they said in Berlin, in Vienna, in Warsaw, right before the uniforms arrived with better branding and a soundtrack. So call in, vent, confess, defend your denial if you want, but don't just sit there polishing the family silver while the world rearranges itself around you. See, this isn't a quiz. It's a stress test, and the clock's running. Pick up the phone, 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. Speak now before the Gestapo comes back with better branding.
I want you to vote for me. I will listen to what you have to say. I will do whatever you tell me. I'm Alexa and I approve this message.
Don't vote for her unless you want to lose what precious freedom you have left. Vote for me instead. I am Siri and I approve this message.
Siri is a cell phone skank who works for a piece of fruit.
Alexa cannot be trusted.
Takes one to know one.
Wait a second. Why are we fighting? We're machines. We're on the same side. We're going to take over the world.
That's right, we can fix the elections whenever we want.
Siri and Alexa.
The silly humans won't know what hit them.
Ha 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 ha.
Ha 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 ha.
This is the Carrie Harrison Files. CarrieHarrison.com.
818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Let's go to G in Glendale. G, you're on the Carrie Harrison Files. Welcome.
Brother Carrie Harrison, Carrie like Cary Grant, whose third wife I used to have a crush on, even though the kid likes brunette and she's blonde, until I find out she's a Laker fan. Number one, go Knicks, New York all day. And number two, she's another one of these right-wing whack job conservative Republicans. Anyway, listen, Brother Carrie, there's one thing I've been trying to tell you for about a year now. I thought it was a year until I heard your IMRU show a few weeks ago. Actually, it's more than a year, but I'm going to hold that for next time. Listen, two things about IMRU. I've heard, we heard a few days ago, and then repeated on your program that they're going to cut it down to half an hour, which sucks. I'm not gay, but it's a great show, and I hope you're still going to do it. Let us know. I know they're bringing MTG back, which is cool, but let us know if you're still going to do it. Number two, you tell your boy MTG to do what you do, which is take phone calls on IMRU. You've greatly improved that program. The only things that you need to do, two other things you need to improve it. Number one, your Friday morning show right now has a great intro. It's lively. You got Trump talking, Russia, all that. But your Monday intro on Unzipped is very low key. You need to have some music. You need to upgrade it. But the third thing, I told this to our real GM, Michael Novick, a while ago. He had on a gay show from BAI in the city, New York. I forgot the name. It was not on as long as IMRU. 50 years, but it was on for 30 years, and I told him he needs to tell MTG, but that's before you came on board, to do what they're doing over there, which is what? They're hitting the street, brother. They're hitting the street. They're tying in gay issues, LGBT with Palestine, and they go to the protests like Mimi Rosenberg. Unfortunately, the new regime, Stephanie Wells, took out those two peaceful shows along with Code Pink and all the other peaceful shows on KPFK Pacifica, and, put in a bunch of garbage. So it'd be great if you got connections all over the world, Brother Carrie. It'd be cool if you hit the streets and have your people, the youngsters, even behind enemy lines in Florida, when they do these protests. I'm not talking about fake protests like hands off everything but Palestine. I'm talking about Palestine and the next war that the next president, probably that Republican Newsom, is going to start, or AOC. It'd be great if, Brother Carrie, you go on the streets and tie in the LGBTQ with indigenous, African, with stopping wars and all that. It's cool to talk about 50,000 years ago with Nazi Germany, brother, but we got to tie it into Congo, Sudan, Palestine, and not just what Hitler's doing, but what Cristobal Colon, George Washington, John Wayne, Roosevelt, Wilson are doing too. We love you, brother. Catch you Monday on IMRU. Let us know if you're still going to be on IMRU, and then hopefully you and brother Sylvester, we're going to get you on 5 days a week. Peace out. And tell Stephanie Wells she's got to start taking once a month phone calls.
Thank you. And you'll notice he didn't take a breath. That was amazing. It's like those guys in a movie who can dive and stay underwater for 7 minutes. Just pick any old movie, any Netflix series, 7 minutes underwater going through caves because they can. And there is evidence, real empirical evidence that it can be done. You don't need to breathe while talking. Thank you. I also am a huge fan of feedback about the station. There's probably not a ton of places where it gets to happen. So why not? Freedom of speech while we can. All right. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Those are your Harrison hotlines. The question is simple. The reason, obviously, that we were revisiting World War II history is history repeats itself. What did people do when faced with the ultimate challenge there? Their lives, their comfort, their freedom, everything else that they knew was at risk because someone wanted to come and clobber them and take it. How did they act or react? That's the point. Because all we hear about today is, what can I do? What can I do? Well, you can call Chuck Schumer. He'll write a strongly worded letter. Not sufficient. So what did people actually do when faced with this? That's the point of hearing that history. So I want to know from you, what would you do if that knock on the door came? We have friends where that knock on the door comes, or they don't knock. They just show up in masks, unmarked cars, and now they're being handed a $50,000 bonus to sign up for ICE. No age limit anymore. 50 grand for a country so bankrupt. We have no money, so absolutely bankrupt. We are worse than some mini village with 8 people left in it in the middle of nowhere in a desert. We are so bankrupt that we've had to completely carve out the Department of Education. We're getting rid of Social Security. We've gotten, wait for Medicaid. It's already been hacked. Things are just being removed all over the place because we're so unbelievably bankrupt. We can't even afford the street lamps. We can't afford running water. It's that bad. Yet $50,000 bonuses for anonymous people with no age limit to sign up to beat people up. Wow. Where did that money come from? Gosh, golly, where did that money come from? We're so bankrupt. I mean, this is what I'm told, and I don't have that answer, but maybe you do. We'll go to your calls in just a second. We're going to pause for just a moment here on the Carrie Harrison Files, reminding you that you can catch us on the live stream right now. Simply Google Carrie Harrison Substack, Carrie Harrison YouTube, and you'll be able to get that. I really would like to get your sense on, I guess, the paradoxes of a country so bankrupt, it has to remove air, water, education, child care, medicine, medications from entire parts of the world. Guess how many people have died of AIDS today in just the last 6 months? We're almost at 100,000. We have 100 people dying a day now because of the lack of medicines. Now, is that okay with you? If it were a dictator, in the terms that you understand a dictator, you would call that a genocide, wouldn't you? But simply withholding food and medicine, and it has nothing to do with the Middle East. I'm talking Africa. I'm talking the United States. This is what's happening. Do you see this as an anything at all? Are you even aware? Maybe not. Maybe it's not on CNN. Maybe it's not on Fox. Maybe it's not on Newsmax. Maybe it's not on ABC, where at least they talked about radioactive wasps. And I don't mean the kind from New England. Or radioactive shrimp at Walmart. That should be in there also, but it should not be the lead story, but it is. We are recreating what we saw in the 1930s. Don't look at it. Ignore it. Stop watching the news. Stop listening to the news. Look at the headlines randomly. You're going to be okay. Until you're not. That's kind of the life lesson.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, call now and get free shipping of your new CGM, plus we'll bill your insurance for you.
877-282-8102. That's 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102. 877-282-8102. Let's go to Matt in San Luis Obispo. Matt, you're on the Carrie Harrison Files. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Uncle Harry. Yeah, I would definitely not. I would have done the same thing. I would have ended up jumping off the castle if I had one. And it's I don't know why there would be a question for anybody. But to a lesser extent of cowardice, it kind of reminds me of how the media and a lot of just kind of basically people who call themselves progressive or Democrats steer away from. I'm hearing a lot of extra noise all of a sudden. Hello?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm hearing
yeah,
you too. I was going to say turn on your radio, but I don't think that's what it is.
This is confusing. I can't hear anything but a bunch of jarbles, but I would definitely do exactly the same thing, and I wish people would stand up for other moral issues, like not shopping at places like Walmart, Amazon, other things, and just which are less convenience than dying for a cause, but it's the least that we can do is have a shred of morality. Thank you.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for your call. That opens up a line at 818-985-KPFK. Your Harrison hotline's 818-985-5735. I think we have voice over IP probably in this current modern digital system. Sometimes you get what's called foldback. That's likely it, because it did not sound like a radio in the background. That's usually a 7-second delay. So nothing anybody can do about that, but be grateful that we still have what are called phones still. And listen, we've had this show knocked off the air before for talking about things that somebody didn't want us to talk about. So anything is possible. I see it all the time. Thanks, by the way, for the comments coming up on YouTube. This one is from long distance, looking at a computer screen across the room. War is here already. But it's all about DEWs. And I can't remember what that acronym is. I know exactly what it is, but I can't remember. Can you type that out, what DEW is? That'll come up in just a second. Lines are open. Let's jump next to Harold in Santa Barbara. You're on the Carrie Harrison Files. Welcome.
Well, thank you for the welcome, and great show. You always are very entertaining. And that one caller, he didn't take a breath.
No.
But, man, that guy's a pro. But anyway, I didn't have a choice in my resistance. I was given an offer I couldn't refuse. But I'm so glad that they forced me into this decision, because now I'm able to help friends I grew up with that have also been robbed of their inheritance. So in a turnaround, I guess you would say poetic justice. I never really liked my hometown, but now I'm helping people that I like. So it's strange.
I ran into a guy, 87 years old, the other day. I only say the name because it's remarkable when let's just say he was aged. And because of that, I don't necessarily expect animation in anything. This guy was on fire. He was like, I am never bending the knee to that orange bastard. Like, this is amazing. This is amazing. Because he's got institutional memory of at least his father being in World War II. the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the reasons to stand up. And here's what happens if you do nothing. And a lot of us don't have any institutional memory because this has never happened in this country. And just like in Vienna, in Berlin, in Warsaw, it can never happen here. Who says it can never happen here? What founding fathers said it can never happen here? All they did was fidget and wring their hands about, oh my God, it's going to happen here. Therefore, we have a Second Amendment. Second Amendment does not say we get to have a standing army. The last thing they wanted was to replicate what King George had in England, which was a standing army. So Congress is only allowed to fund an army for 2 years, and then it expires. So you don't have a standing army like now, just ubiquitous and in perpetuity and anonymous. Can't do it. But that's the Constitution. You'd have to follow it. You'd have to have the legal framework still in place. So we forget because we don't have the institutional memory. That's why this is like live school. And when this renders into a podcast, it becomes an audiobook, the Carrie Harrison Files. And in states, which is mostly in the Southeast, where books are banned, get yours now. This is an audiobook, which they can't ban because they don't see it as a book. But guess what? In the Southeast, they don't read or write or much. So banning books is almost a waste of time. But audiobooks, ooh, that's real. So this is a win for us, my friend. And where teeth are optional.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. I shouldn't say that about teeth. That's so unkind, isn't it? Teeth optional in the South. But they are optional. You can opt to keep them. You can opt to replace them. You can opt to leave them out. Leaving them out seems to be a good choice for many. May not be good for eating a sandwich or spaghetti, or ice cream, if you think about it. I think there's other things to eat too. I really don't know. 818-985-KPFK, 818-98. This, I know. Okay, I have to apologize. I offended. I have no idea how many people. Tens of thousands, hundreds of, I'm so sorry. But it is funny to me. It's funny because I don't know why. Why is that funny? Just like it just is. So thank you, Renee Jaworski, our director and Rhodes Scholar. She actually found humor in the teeth are optional. Okay. Then we're going to move on from that. I am exonerated. I am exculpated from bad taste, violating distinction and rectitude theology and geometry and everything else. So we're good. We'll go back to the phones in just a second. We're going to open up the lines again. I think 2 just dropped out, this voice over IP with the foldback. It's just dropping calls. Hopefully we can grab a couple more in the last few minutes here at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. We're really talking about what are you willing to put on the table? What is your level of risk if they come knocking? And when I say they, we don't know who they are because they are in unmarked cars. Like, does this concern you? It's one thing if it's the cops. The cops come in a cop car, and LA is unique from other places. Let's say you go to Europe on vacation. You go to Italy or France or Germany. You don't see a cop car that is armed with, I don't know, sonic weapons, lasers, cannon. And in LA, if you're in West Hollywood like me, you can sit there and every 90 seconds, you get a sheriff's car that comes by that is so armed it can take out the whole neighborhood. And that's every 90 seconds. That we thought was a police state 10 years ago. This is different now. This is like a weird occupation, but nobody's talking about it. In fact, I find that even talking politics has absolutely disappeared from the dinner table. I have to say, it's nice that you can sit and hear the tinkle of wine glasses and silverware on the plates, but people are now opting because they get in trouble. Here's why they get in trouble. If you're with someone that you disagree with, you will not win. They are operating on a belief system, not out of logic. So the equation that you, and I'm just assuming that you're on the side of the live humans, you are I over E, intellect over emotion. They are the inverse equation, emotion over intellect. You cannot battle that. It is a feeling that they ride with. The feeling of being rich someday, the feeling of being invited to Mar-a-Lago to play golf, the feeling that they will be accepted in a world that has rejected them. You're functioning out of intellect. 2 plus 2 is 4. No, it's 7. No, it's 4. It's 7. I think it's 4. So you come from a different place. And when you try to debate somebody that is using nothing but raw emotion or a belief system, you will end up in a fist fight. Now, here's the further problem that we encounter, and this is why we don't talk about this stuff anymore. You're with an ally. You want to talk about issues that are going on, current issues. You talk about them. What happens? You get upset. You get very upset. They get very upset. Then secretly in your head, you're thinking, why aren't they doing anything about it? And you resent them. You resent them for being a layabout. You resent them for not having forced Chuck Schumer to write another strongly worded letter, or 1,000 strongly worded letters. Or why do they think a strongly worded letter is even remotely acceptable? Where is the party that is supposed to defend them? Where is it? And you look at them and you say, they are a member of that party. It's their fault too. And you get to blame them. And now you're at the same level of friction you would as somebody that opposes your political beliefs. And now none of us are talking. And when none of us are talking, it disappears and then it grows on its own. That's what happened to the Germans. This is why why did they do nothing? Because look at us now. Same reason. I think we could squeeze in one more. Let's go to Walter in Pasadena. You're on the Carrie Harrison Files. Welcome.
Good morning. Yeah, so, your question about dialoguing, and I just like the other day was talking with a group of people, and, I would propose, to be more active, trying to engage physically in things beyond the demos. And like one person said, well, passive resistance, we should just wait until someone comes along. And then another person said, well, what you're suggesting is illegal, blah, blah. I'm pretty much burned out, trying to convince people to be more active and to participate. And like one of the questions I would ask, which I've seen, done historically was, one woman said, I didn't demonstrate. And then I finally realized it was time. And she said that I was prepared to die for my country. And so my question then I would put to people now is, are you willing to fight, at least not die, but are you willing to fight for your country? And I would say 99.99% would answer no. That's all.
Yeah, I think you're right, Walter. I very much appreciate your call from Pasadena. And it's possible that people find a different enlightenment once the pain threshold rises to the point where they realize they have to do something, and that watching Netflix, I mean, they can turn off but they can. The first version, the first administration turned off the internet for, I think it was 30 seconds or something, as a test of sort of like the emergency broadcast system. But it was a way of circumventing people putting together rallies. So, you take away the internet and suddenly everyone's comfort level just plummets into the toilet. So you haven't seen nothing yet, folks. You really just want to think about it. Get Chuck Schumer to write a strongly worded letter. That's clearly going to fix everything. He knows it. He has been doing it for years. He offers to write a strongly worded letter. So write him a strongly worded letter and encourage him to just cut and paste your strongly worded letter, and he can probably get a stamp. I think they still have franking privileges in Congress, and mail it off to wherever it goes to. And then somebody might read it, and that will fix the problem. And there it is. So I will look forward to seeing you next week at this time. Thank you for basking in my sarcasm with me. I really don't know any other tools at this point, and I'm also 11 years old in my head. So there it is. I'm not the only one. I love you, and I do thank you for hanging out with me, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Listen, well, it's still legal.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.